Okay, welcome everybody. We're going to go ahead and get started. I'm glad you guys are here today for this presentation. I'm really excited about this. We're going to be talking about using texting as a part of SharePoint Solutions, and let's go ahead and jump into it. Okay, my name is Will Cooper. My background is as a SharePoint developer, and I've been focused on Microsoft-oriented solutions for the better part of the last 20 years. Particularly, I've been focused on SharePoint for the last 10 years or so. My background is as a developer, and I became a partner and started working very closely with InfoWise several years ago, and I really love their tools. So as a part of what I'm presenting today, I'm taking advantage of using this Ultimate Forms toolset. I do a lot of work with InfoWise, including doing training for them and writing articles and instructions, and basically helping people to understand how to use these tools in the most successful way possible. I love our team. We're all about building comprehensive solution tools and making it easy and accessible for all users without having to do any programming. So there's no code needed to use this. Just a couple ground rules. If you have questions during the presentation, please use the GoToWebinar questions panel. We do have members of our staff on that'll help you out. Please be patient. If we don't answer right away, we'll try to get to you, and I'll stay on after my presentation to answer any open questions. We will do a drawing for a free polo shirt at the end, so if you can hang on, you might get a free prize. That is for people in the United States to be eligible for us to mail that shirt to. All right, here we go. So just to give you a little more background, this is how I look at out-of-the-box SharePoint versus having the tools that I like to use. It can be a bit confusing, can be a bit limited. I love SharePoint, but I find that you really need to bring in some more tools to be able to work successfully with that. And that's where I feel InfoWise and Ultimate Forms help solve that. So just something to consider as I'm going through, you'll see as part of what we're talking about, that's going to make things a lot easier. Our tools are available both for Office 365 and on-premise, or you could also say Microsoft 365. That's a new branding Microsoft is using since last year. All right, so into the content of what we're focusing on today. It's about trying to think about a new approach in terms of notifying users and your SharePoint solutions. I don't think I'm going on a limb to say that we're all drowning in email, and it's hard for me to expect that situation is going to get anything but worse. So point being, sending an email prompt for people to do things is becoming less and less effective. So here's a breakdown, a general comparison between sending notifications via email versus texting. We're getting hundreds of emails per week, almost all of us. And with text, that's less common. We're not, at least at this stage, buried in text messages. Most of our emails don't really matter. We got a lot of clutter and junk. Text messages, on the other hand, they're short and sweet. There's a reason we're getting them. If we're not supposed to get them, then, of course we can block. On emails, we tend to eventually see those, whereas text messages are generally seen right away. Emails take a lot of time to go through. You kind of have to dig through and catch up. Text messages are pretty much instantaneous. You can just read it in a few seconds. Emails, you do have HTML formatting and pictures and all that type of thing, whereas texting is just exactly that. It's just 160 characters of text, and that is the entirety of what content you can put in a text message. In terms of how it's used, emails kind of falling out of favor, whereas text messages you're seeing more often. As an example, in multi-factor authentication, you're seeing text message getting used. It's kind of on the upswing, so to speak. So in some ways, email is kind of an older way of doing things, whereas prompting users to take action through text message is a little more modern, a little bit more of a fresh approach. Emails don't get your attention, text messages do. So that's kind of the setup for the why we want to take advantage of this. Here's some strategy to think about in terms of using text messaging as part of a SharePoint solution. It's about immediacy. We want to have an immediate prompt and provide a short message. We want to allow our user to respond immediately. We want to streamline that process and make it very simple. We want to track how fast that response is because we're all about doing things fast, and we want to actually quantify that with some analytics to know that we're having success. We're going to use workflow in SharePoint to accomplish some of our steps. And we want users to be able to respond via the text message to trigger actions in some cases. We don't want to be overzealous about this. We don't want to bombard users with lots of text messages, or we're going to be right where we started with email messages. So use this option judiciously. You want to make sure that it's for only in isolated specific cases where you need that immediate response. You get feedback. Talk to your user group, talk to your users, find out what they think about it, and make sure it's something that is going to have a positive reaction from them as well. So want to keep it simple. These are just kind of some more ideas in terms of overall strategy. One thing we want to think about is you do need to accommodate both for texting and email. So it's not necessarily to abandon email, it's just more of an alternative option. So we kind of have to handle for both of those situations. We want to respect our users. We don't want to be sending text messages to them outside of work hours. So I want to be a little bit careful about this. You know, you could say with power comes responsibility. So only have our system sending out these messages when it's important and necessary to do so. Okay, so kind of have some funny pictures and slides and things like that. So on this side, this is what you will never want to do. Otherwise, you're soon going to find your organization doesn't allow you to use text messaging for prompts because you've messed up. You don't want to annoy them and drive them crazy. So that's what we see on the left. Hey, we don't want to do that to our users. They will hate us. On the right, this is more what we're thinking about. It's more like a rare occasion. We need specific and immediate action. So it really is something important, and therefore I only want to make those important requests sometimes so I don't bother people. Here's an example of something you can do. It uses a concept that I really like called gamification, making something like a game. And you may think to yourself, well, that has nothing to do with SharePoint and everything must be very serious and work-oriented. But in fact, using some strategy like this can make a dramatic improvement on response time and play into some psychological factors, you know, such as people who have a competitive nature. So this is an example of using the strategy of gamification as a part of this process. In this case, you're seeing a leaderboard, and it's tracking the average response time on approvals and showing it on a ranked leaderboard. So someone would see their name compared to other workers. And for some people, this is going to encourage them to respond really fast. Now, this isn't going to fit in many situations, but if you can imagine an approval system where in that system, it's imperative that you get very fast response and it can make a big impact for your business, this could really help you a lot. So this is an example of using metrics and tracking where we're doing a date compare to find out the difference in minutes between when the request was sent via text and when the user responded with their approval. So this is a concept you can employ into a system where you're going for those fast, immediate text responses. Okay, here's some example scenarios that would apply or probably be similar in your organization to help you think about when you might want to step it up and use text messages for notifications. Urgent help desk ticket. It's a help desk ticket that needs to be solved right away. So we need fast response and fast updates, both to the help desk team and to the user. And so email notifications maybe aren't enough. We want to do something more attention getting. Approvals that need to be immediate, and so does some approval process that in some cases can drag on for a couple of weeks. This may be something with a new customer, and it may be a competitive situation. It may be something that's got to happen today. It's got to get done, and we can't just simply patiently wait for somebody to check their email and respond a day later. Simple decisions, things that don't need a lot of deliberation. I may not need to spend several minutes on approval. It may be a very simple situation. Employee wants to request approval for vacation, can be an expense tracking. It's something where it's very obvious and immediate decision I can make. I'm not going to mind getting a text in that situation. Maybe I can just reply to the text and say approve. I'm fine. I don't need to spend a lot of time. Simple decisions fit well. And just in general, when we want a timely response, and the work needs to be done now or today. We need to move fast. This is a process where it needs to move fast. That's what these text messages are about, and they can help us accomplish. We're going to apply this in our example today. I'm going to show you a help desk system where we're going to integrate and incorporate text messaging in addition to email notifications as an alternative means to update users. So this is a process diagram I've made, and I didn't incorporate all of the various scenarios that can help go with help desk systems. I mainly focused on the notifications aspect of that. So if you kind of follow along from the upper left, you see the user is going to open up a help ticket, and as they do, and we're going to see this in the form, they're going to be prompted and asked, how do you want to get updates? And they can opt for text updates, and if they do, they're going to be requested to provide their cell number, or if they don't need that, they'll do email. But they may really like that because it's a big deal to them. They want to get updates and know right away whenever there's progress made to help solve their problem. The other aspect could be, is that an urgent help ticket? Hopefully most of the time it's not, but if it's a really critical situation and it needs to get solved, that would be something where the help desk team and the help desk manager need to jump right on it. Imagine, if you will, you're the help desk manager in an organization and somebody real high up the food chain, say like the CFO, puts in a ticket to get an issue solved and they mark it as urgent. You're not going to look too good if you're slow to respond and you don't know about that till later. So if you have a system like this, you can make that priority ticket text you directly. If I'm in that position, I want to know immediately if somebody puts in a priority ticket because I want to do my job well. I want to jump right on it. So if it's urgent, I'm going to use text notifications. So the user creates the ticket, and then depending on those choices in the earlier part of that process, it's going to drive whether the notifications come through text or through email. So the help desk team assigns a team member, their status updates to the ticket, the issues worked on, and then during this process, the user is going to get notifications and they can reply back and then solve the problem. So that's kind of the model of what we're going to show in our SharePoint example in just a few minutes. I drew this diagram and something I like. It's called DrawThatio, or you can look up the website diagrams.net. It's free. I like it for process diagrams. I just wanted to call them out in case you're looking for a nice tool to do that. I prefer that much over trying to do a diagram, say, in PowerPoint or something like that. Now, I'm not going to get into the weeds with technical details on the very initial setup of doing text messages in our system. I'm going to point you to some resources which you can go to, and you can just follow the steps and do some of that yourself. So the first thing I want to mention, if you go on the InfoWise website and just go to resources and blog, and the green box, that is an article which shows you how to get going with use the initial setup for text messages. So I want to refer you to that. Okay, so this is a more detailed view of the actual machinery, if you will, of how a text message gets sent based on something happening in SharePoint. So if you look in the middle left on the page, there's a message triggered in SharePoint, and we have a workflow which is calling Twilio. This is a third-party text message provider. They're known worldwide. They're a leader for this, and they provide an API. So once I have my Twilio account set up, I call their API from SharePoint, and that's how these text messages are being sent. In a sense, you can think of Twilio as your user agent. This is what's actually sending the text message to your users on behalf of SharePoint. It's a proxy. So the recipient will get the message, and there's a couple of ways that we'd like for them to be able to respond. One method would be to text the user a link to the form in SharePoint. They could just tap on that, and if it's SharePoint Online, it'll just pop open the form and they can respond to the form. That's one method. The other thing, alternative we would like to do is allow them to respond on a help ticket where they can say close or complete or approve or something like that, where when they respond with a text message, that can take the action for them, providing a really easy, fast way for them to respond. Okay, so if they respond by a text message, there's another chain of events that needs to occur. Your Twilio user agent is going to receive that text, and then in SharePoint, we need a workflow which will import the messages, at which point we can run some workflow and trigger our help ticket close. So, a couple of different ways we can prompt action from the user, either direct to the SharePoint form or allow them to provide a very simple response in the text message. I'm going to demonstrate this exactly for you. Okay, so you will need to set up a Twilio account, incredibly easy. When you do that, they're going to provide you a secure ID and an authorization token. I don't like to share that with other people, so I've scribbled it out on here, but you'll have your very own. It's extremely easy to set this up. You can get your account rolling in a few minutes. And once you do, you'll have a phone number that you can do. And in fact, you can do this for free initially if you just want to try this out. So you don't actually have to pay anything when you first play around with this, but it's very inexpensive. And you can actually get phone numbers for different areas. So if you want one that's in the same area code as your organization, that's quite simple to do. Okay, and then in SharePoint, and this is covered in the blog article I mentioned, you're going to want a logging list, which is going to connect to Twilio and log your inbound and outbound traffic on text messages. And we want to do this for tracking purposes, but we also want to do it because some of our workflow, for example, when a user responds, we're going to track through that. So once you set it up, you'll never have to think about this again. It'll just happen for you automatically. So it's kind of a one-time thing. So not hard at all. Okay, when you go live with this kind of system, if you're going to do it in your help desk system, I recommend that you notify your users. Don't just all of a sudden start texting them out of the blue. You want to ask them to add a contact, give them the phone number that you've set up with Twilio, and let them know you're going to get notifications from there. And they can actually get a user profile. It helps it easily to be flagged, and they know it's a message coming from your organization. It's good practice. Now, in terms of handling both email and texting, some general recommendations. You do need to provide the option of both. So texting in many ways is more effective, and we want to emphasize it, but we need to provide both channels of communication, not simultaneously. So it's one or the other, and that could be, in this case, per help ticket, or it could be based on the user. You may have certain users who, for whatever reason, will not do texting. It's going to come up, and that's okay. What we can do is make a lookup list, and we can go ahead and have a registry, if you will, which has cell phone numbers for users that are going to use texting, and then we can also indicate which users are not going to use it. So that's easy to deal with, but you do need to handle for both. Do not simultaneously email and text notifications to your users. You overwhelm them. You'll create confusion. It is one or the other, but you do need to accommodate for both in whatever system you're creating. All right, so, and as you can tell, what I'll show you in the help desk system, we have an opt-in. We allow the user putting in the help desk ticket to make the decision on their own. Do you want to be notified by text? Yes, then they do that, or no, I want to get emails. So that's the best way to design. All right, so email is kind of a fallback for us in these systems where we want to use texting. We do need to provide for that ability, you know, in addition to the texting. All right, enough of my boring slides. We're actually going to go into SharePoint now, and we're going to see this in action. Okay, so first of all, here's the Twilio site. Like I say, you can just go in here and click on sign up. You can sign up for free. They'll just assign you a temporary trial number, and it's really easy. You can go through a blog article and do that. So that's going to be your first stop when you start to try out some of what I'm demonstrating. And I'm just going to jump right in. I'm going to create a help ticket, and you're going to see exactly how this is going to work. Here's my logging screen. Because I don't like to share my phone number or other phone numbers, I've actually took those two fields off my view. So normally I'd have the from and to, from being the Twilio number, to, you know, the users that get the notifications, that type of thing. So those are my two key lists. I actually have my support tickets list, and I have my logging going on in the background. And then along with this, we're going to get into how Ultimate Forms comes into play. But let's just go from a user perspective. First of all, we're going to do a new help ticket. All right, so I have my help ticket. This form I've set up is through our form designer interface with Ultimate Forms. It's really awesome and easy to use. For those of you guys who have it, you love it. If you haven't tried this yet, you really want to try it. And at the end of the call, I'm going to show you how you can try that right away. All right, so I'm going to put in a new issue, and I'm going to say this is a priority ticket. If you remember my process diagram, I was saying that if it's a priority ticket, I'm going to make the help desk manager get text notifications about this. Now, users like to say that all of their issues are priority. So we kind of want an extra check in here. So I have this priority confirm, and it tells them a little message. It says, setting your priority is equivalent to calling 911. Is this issue something that needs to be fixed immediately? You know, so hopefully that'll stop users from just saying every issue is a priority, but that's the kind of the double check, if you will. And then it asks them, how do you want to be updated? Email or SMS text? And notice these fields popping into view. This is conditional logic. I can do the form designer, and I'm going to show you how that works in a minute. Now I have this hardwired in the background. Like I said, I didn't want to share my phone number. So even though I'm going to put in the silly number, but I promise you in the back end, it is going to go to my own number. But you can just reference this number in the workflow, which I'll show you in a second. Okay, my screen is fuzzy. All right, everything is out of focus. I think I need a new monitor. Here, I'll do hardware, other, okay. That's it, and I can attach screenshots and that type of thing. So pretty familiar concept, all of this. I'm basically reporting an issue to the IT team. I need help. Boom. Okay, a new ticket gets created. I don't have an easy way to show my cell phone, but I can promise you I'm getting a text message right now. I can show you the text message log. So this was marked as priority ticket, which means, and also the user asked for SMS text update, which means a couple of things. So let me show you something real quick. All right, so this is what's going on my phone right now. All right, I took a screenshot earlier to demonstrate it. All right, so help desk manager gets the top one. The text update, this is telling them, whoop, priority ticket just came in. Help desk manager, I can just tap that. So that hyperlink I can tap on, and it'll just go right to SharePoint Online, immediately right to that form. I'm going to know right away. So I can do a really super awesome job as help desk manager, get this thing assigned to a help member, and get this on the way to solve. The bottom one, that's what the user get. What does everybody want when they put in a ticket? They want a nice little confirmation. We've got your request. We're working on it right now. Okay. And so they're going to get text updates. And then what have I got at the bottom? This is the reply by text option I was talking about. So instead of the top method where I would go to the form, basically anytime I'm getting updates on this, I can say what I'm telling them is closed to. Well, why am I saying closed to? You're going to see in a second. The help ticket has an ID and it helps us to flag the ticket that needs to be closed. So basically, we'll make sure the user can just close the ticket anytime if their issue gets resolved. Okay. I'll show you another screen real quick while we're in this part. So if I do reply close to, I want to get a confirmation back. Hey, thank you. Your ticket has been marked complete. Okay. So making it really easy and painless on the part of the person who put in the ticket. Okay. So that's what's going on in the phone. All right. So help team comes in, right? And what are they going to do? Well, the help manager needs to assign somebody, right? I'm going to assign, notice there's a new section. This didn't show in the new. This is just for the help team. You can conditionally apply who sees that. I'm going to assign it to myself. Boom. And I'm going to say, I am working on getting you a new monitor. All right, put that in there. And then I put this button in the form. This is something also in Form Designer, and I'll show you in a second. So I'm going to say status, we're working on it. I'm going to hit send update. It's going to save and close that for me. Okay, that's going to change the status. Notice we're in progress. All right, my phone's buzzing at me, and lo and behold, as the user, I just got a message that says update from help team. I'm working on getting you a new monitor. Replies closed for if your issue is resolved. So I'm a happy user because I'm being attended to. They're working on my issue. That makes me so happy to see that. Okay, so they work on the issue, everything's set. Now, the next thing I'm going to do is I am going to close it. So I'm going to say I got the new monitor and I'm sending a text message right now. You guys are going to have to trust me. I'm replying on my phone right now. I'm saying close for. I just send that. I'll prove to you I'm not a liar in a second. I'm going to go to the log. I'm going to get some of the configuration here in a second. Okay, so this is the log, and there's an import operation that needs to happen for that. Okay, so this is getting into some of the InfoWise stuff. I have this import profile, and I can just run that. I'm going to click run now. This will run reoccurring. I've got this set up to run automatically every 2 minutes. My little man, okay, that finished. I'm going to show you a little bit about the configuration, but first of all, let me just finish the part with user interface, then we'll get into how this is set up. Okay, my phone's buzzing again because guess what? My ticket just got closed. Okay, so there it is. That's the, see, I told you guys I wasn't a liar. Okay, I sent a message back that said close for. For being, this is parsing it out, it's the ID. It's the ID of the help desk ticket. And lo and behold, look at that. My ticket got closed. I didn't have to even do anything on help team. And then also, I can go in here and look at that. Closed by inbound text from requester. So that's interesting. So that was all handled automatically, okay, through workflow. So everything's done on this ticket now. Okay, so that's pretty cool. Okay, so, all right, let me come back in here. And, all right, let's take a look at import. I'm going to tell you how easy this is to set up. Okay, so this is in the Ultimate Forms tools. You set up the import profile. This is an example profile because, like I said, I don't like to share how you can use my Twilio account, so I needed another one to put in here. Now I've set polling to none because this is an example one, but normally the way you do it is you set it to run every 15 minutes, or you can actually have it run more often. Can tell you more about that. And then a data provider. We have all kinds of different import options. So this is just one of them. You can import emails, you can import from databases, all kinds of things. It just happens that in this case, we're doing Twilio, but you can see we have quite a robust set of options there. So if you remember in that screenshot I showed earlier, you just paste in your SID and authorization token. and then it's going to ask you, I have the SharePoint list up, and it's just going to match the data coming from Twilio over to your SharePoint fields. And then you just set up this action, and it's just a straight field path. So I'm just passing over the content of the text. What's the phone number came from? Who did it go to? When was it sent? Is this inbound, outbound? All that kind of stuff. So that is the entirety of the import profile. I will never again ever have to touch that. I'm done. It's a one-time setup. The other part to it is the sending text. So let's go to that part of it now. So I'm going to go to my support tickets, and in Ultimate Forms, that's done through Actions. Okay, so I have all these cases that are being handled. So if you remember my process diagram, I had to handle different kinds of scenarios, and that's what this is all about. So if I go here, you're going to see I have a profile for when the priority ticket gets updated. I want the help desk manager to get one of those, so I set one up for each case. And then I want the help agent to get text messages in the case that it's priority. Whenever there's an update, I need a confirmation to go to the requester when they create the ticket. If they again, this is if they requested texting. You'll notice if I go in the profile and it says update type equals SMS text. So this is where I say you're going to handle for that. Naturally, if they did email, I'm going to set up an email profile, and that's part of our tools as well. And then this is when the help desk team click that nice orange button. If you remember that, send update. When they do send update, then I'm going to send a special kind of message to the user about the update. Send that little note that said, hey, we're ordering a new monitor. Okay, and then when the ticket closed out, I need to handle that as well. Okay, so here's the configuration. Here's an example. Okay, we have a special type of action. It's called call application. And I set a condition, and then we have this application type, Twilio. Should look familiar to you because I'm doing the same thing again. I just paste in this ID and auth token. This is copy and paste from that Twilio screen I showed you. And then on the from, this can be dynamic. So the from is going to be from your Twilio number you get, right? So you're just going to punch that in there. And in fact, you can store it in a field if you want. I made a calculated field, and I just set it up. So I actually have something called Twilio phone number. Yeah, I just didn't want to show that to you. And then the to can be dynamic. Remember, I had a field in there for you know, whatever phone number I put for the user. So that was requester cell number. So it can be totally dynamic, right? And then same thing with the body. So if you notice I had the ID or I had a message or something, I can put content from the fields in that. So every single one of these rules has a different trigger on when to send message to either help team members assigned or the help desk manager or the person requests the ticket. I just add rules for all those different situations. Okay, so that's how all those text messages are getting generated. Let me go to the form designer. I'm going to show you how I made this form real quick. So I can create some rules, and you know, for priority confirm, you know, I need that to only appear when priority is yes. So I can set these permissions rules. I can say I don't want to see this field if priority is not yes, but if it is yes, then show it. And also need validation. Not only do I need it to show, they need to confirm, yes, it's really like a 911 issue. This really is priority. So I need a validation check. So in the case that priority is yes, this has to be marked yes. It will not let them create the ticket with that marking yes. And what's cool is I don't have to do any programming or code or any of that kind of thing. Same situation with the cell phone number. If they do update type SMS text, it's really only at that case where I want to make that field show up. So I have this dynamic form. I don't want to have a field in here showing cell phone number when they don't want to do cell phone updates. That would look really dumb. So it's a responsive form, and it changes according to what's happened. And then the stuff for the help team, that's really just for them. And we don't need to show it in the new form. So you can see I have a rule here. If you'll remember at the beginning, I didn't show that on the new form. So I just take that whole box and I can say hide on new. Very simple. So this is Form Designer. It's awesome. It's easy to use. It's the only way I ever want to lay out forms in SharePoint if I have a choice. So something I think you'd really have fun to play around with. Okay, so that's the gist of doing text in SharePoint. And I am using this with my customers. It's really awesome. It's something that I think definitely can apply in all kinds of different situations. So let's talk about next steps. With our tools, you can sign up for a trial right away. I mean, in a couple minutes, you can have a site. So all you got to do is go to the InfoWise site, click on the green button in the upper right, and I recommend this middle option, online trial. It's going to ask you your name, your email, your phone, and what organization. And you can either do a blank site or pick one that's already got a solution preloaded in there and hit submit, and you'll get a login to our site and you'll be off and running. You can immediately start playing with these tools and pretty much use all of our functionality, and you can try all the things I was showing in the demonstration. And then the next thing after that would be to put a trial in your own environment. So that would be the third option here. So that's your best option to get started. We've got awesome resources on our site, including well more than 100 tutorials on all kinds of different things you can do with our tools. So that can help you get started. And then we also provide great training options. So let's do this drawing for the shirt, because if I don't do that right now, I'm going to forget about it. I did promise you guys we'd do a free shirt. So what I'm going to have you do is give me a number 1 to 100, and I'm going to give you about 20 seconds. I'm going to pick a winner, whoever's closer, and make sure you only give me one guess, please. I'm going to rush you guys. You got 5 more seconds, and then I'm picking the winner. All right, I think I've got the winner. Okay, it is Heart Green. Heart Green, please email me your shirt size and address. That email can go to willc@infowisesolutions.com. If you guys have general questions to us, please contact us at sales@infowisesolutions.com. And we are happy to do a one-on-one meeting with you. If you want to do that, if you go to our homepage, you can do request a demo. And if you put in your contact info, we'll bounce back to you. We'll set up a web meeting, and we can talk about specifically what you want in your organization. And that's about it. We got some more questions and things in the chat. I'll stick around and answer those, but that does wrap up our presentation on using texting in SharePoint Solutions. Hope it gave you some cool ideas. I hope it's interesting to you, and I hope it's something that you'll consider using as a part of your own solutions. And I also hope you'll, if you don't already have them, consider using the Ultimate Forms tools to do that, because it truly does make it very easy to set up. It's an awesome way to do it. So thanks a lot, everybody. Appreciate it.